Christine. Welcome to Book Talk. Today we are discussing Hank Green's debut novel, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. So, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing was one of my most anticipated releases this year. This 23-year-old girl, she works in art design. She's going home at 3 a.m. and she stops when she sees this giant structure that looks like a Japanese warrior robot in the middle of the sidewalk in New York City. And she calls her friend Andy, who she knows is into YouTube stuff and he podcasts and does all that tech stuff. And she's like, hey, you gotta get down here, bring your video stuff. There's this cool art thing down the street and we could like break the news. You wanna get on top of this. He comes down with his gear and they make a video about the really tall robot structure art piece in the street. April May, who is the name of our lead character, she has a mic and she pretends to interview the statue, which she names Carl. It's only like a 1 or 2 minute video. Her friend Andy goes home at 3 in the morning already. He goes home, he edits it, he puts it on the internet. April May goes to sleep and she doesn't get up till like 2 in the afternoon the next day. And the video already has gone viral because these statues, they come to be known as Carls, have appeared in famous cities all over the world, and they all appeared at the exact same time, and all the cameras in the area of every single Carl went out at the moment that the Carls appeared. And these are huge, completely metal structures, and everyone's like, how the hell did someone pull this off? What is this? What are these for? And everyone thinks, you know, maybe it's a marketing ploy, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. They are actually not of this world. Like, these are aliens. The Carls are aliens, and they're on our planet. What the hell are they doing here? And April May finds herself in the middle of all this because she broke the story. Her video goes so incredibly viral that they end up wanting to have her on all these different stations, and people start following her on all this social media, and it's just a wild ride, man. It's a wild ride. We really explore the journey of internet fame and what it does to your psyche, and at the same time, there's a lot running through it just about humanity in general. It's really well done, and I had so much fun reading it. It's like a sci-fi contemporary exploration of humanity and fame, and it was highly enjoyable. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing gets an A from me, and I'm really excited to see what Hank writes next. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else, I don't think. I also really like the cover. At first glance, this cover is just like, oh, colors. But then you look at it longer and you see all these Carls in the background. There's 64 Carls. Also, it reminds me of Hoot. I didn't even read Hoot, but do you guys know that famous book Hoot? Aren't the colors of Hoot? I haven't actually tried to read like what it says here on the inside flap. It looks like knowing something is a bad idea doesn't always decrease the odds that you will do it. Oh, I like it. And also true story. That's all for the non-spoiler section. I really want to talk about this in spoiler terms. Go read it, come back, and we can discuss it. Goodbye, non-spoiler folk. Goodbye. Goodbye. Spoilers are coming. Bye. Okay, reading the first chapter, one of the first things I noticed was how many capital words Hank has. And I was like, hey, why does Hank get to keep his capitals in his book, but I have to take mine out because they distract the reader? Huh? This is it. This is how I use capital letters. Excuse me. And I'm wondering, now that I think about it, I feel like Hank really only spoke that way in his first couple chapters. Yeah, like right here on page 4. Really exceptional sculpture. I mean, it's awesome. And I was shamed into taking them out because multiple people were like, you should really watch your capitals used because that's not what we do in novels. That's not what we do in novels. Whatever. Maybe Hank was too because they only appear in the first chapter. So we start with An Absolutely Remarkable Thing and you're like on board and you're enjoying yourself. But then the next morning, April wakes up. She's fiddling around with a Don't Stop Me Now Wikipedia page. That creepy thing starts to happen where she fixes the typo and another typo appears. And that's when I was really hooked. That's when I was like, fork. I am invested. What the hell is going on here? I love me a good riddle. I love me a good puzzle. After that, I was like, shit, I need to find out. I need to finish this. I need to know how this is gonna end. I love how the Carls were obsessed with integrating everything they did with our pop culture. April May starts out talking about how we're gonna go way back. I'm gonna start from the beginning, before I was dead and before I was like half human, half alien. She says all this stuff about being like half human, half alien, dead, and I'm like, what? And throughout the book, we start to hear how the defenders have all these conspiracy theories that she's part alien and she's just an alien disguised as a human. And you start to think, oh, maybe she was just referring to that. But she was really referring to herself. She died. That scene where she dies, I was like, what the fuck just happened? Her whole journey with her growing fame and her growing audience, you know, it's fascinating to watch and devastating at the same time. And if you've done any sort of YouTube or watched YouTube, you've seen this shit happen to people. You've seen it go to this extreme place where they're live streaming shit that you don't necessarily want to be live streaming, stuff that you don't necessarily want to be sharing, but they're doing it for the views. And that final scene where she's like live streaming her death, I'm sitting here like, what the fuck are you doing, April? But also, like, obviously everyone wants to see, and she might not be able to come out of this alive. Those numbers that we were seeing on that live stream were blowing my mind. There was 800 million people watching that live, and it makes sense because this is a worldwide story. This is a worldwide phenomenon. There are fucking aliens on Earth, but you can't imagine seeing that number at the bottom of the screen. Andy talks about how, you know, at its peak, 1 billion people were watching that live stream of her dying in a burning building. We're still figuring out this sequence while death is all around her. That Bowie song is playing. People are talking about how the lyrics are different, and she's like, oh, wait, the lyrics are different? Guys, okay, the lyrics are different. Look this up. And then we find out the lyrics are different everywhere. The Carls just changed the lyrics to hint to the fact that everyone has to work together and put a piece of gold against the Carls. Let's wind back. My favorite parts of this book are definitely the parts where we're trying to figure out the Carls, the riddles and the dreams and everything that goes along with that. But the way Hank depicts April's thought process and the shift in that thought process, the growing addiction to Twitter and numbers and attention is so scarily accurate. And it happens to all of us. If you've been on YouTube and you've worked to build like a decent sized audience, there was a point in your life where you found yourself scarily obsessed and dependent on knowing those numbers. And once you realize and are able, and it's hard to take a step back from it once you step in, because you're working so hard for this and you have to make sure that things still keep rolling and keep going. You want to keep doing this, and this anxiety forms in you that's just always there. You want to ignore it and you want to stop thinking about it and stop worrying about it, but you also want to keep doing what you're doing. And it turns you into this like compulsive number checker, and you don't want to be that. April's description of like the beginning of this and how excited she is about like her new following and how she feels the need to like tweet everything she sees. It's so real, and I've only experienced this on such a small scale. The first 48 hours of this journey for her are so stressful to watch. They're exciting, but so stressful because all of a sudden she's bombarded with all these new messages from all these new people, and she doesn't know how to balance it with the people in her life already. Like, she doesn't know how to balance all this incoming attention with her day-to-day. How does she have a girlfriend talk to her and have time to spend time with her and be in a relationship when so many other people want to talk to her? It's so sad. The minute she doesn't text Maya back, you know things are going downhill there. The second she meets Jennifer Putnam and gets a sense of what she's like, we know that this woman is going to be pushing her into situations that will be good for this woman, not necessarily April. The second she's like, oh honey, I know you're bi, but can you just be a lesbian? Can you do that? It's just like, did you just really say that? April's overwhelmed because she's not the expert here, so she kind of goes along with it. It sucks. And it sucks to know in retrospect, this woman pushed her into all the things that really led to her going to a warehouse by herself and dying. She died. Jennifer was also representing the man who was riling up the violent defenders group who wanted to kill her. That part where April May first becomes aware of Petrawicki and his Invaders book, and she gets off the news line that she was on and she's like, who the fuck was that? His ideas are so hateful and harmful to April's message. She immediately wants to like make an entire video tearing apart every idea that he's trying to spread, and she does it. And watching her fall into that pitfall, like, we've all done it. We've seen a troll and we've wanted to highlight why they're wrong or why their ideas are shitty, and in doing that you draw more attention to the troll and to their shitty ideas and allow for other people to find them and latch on to those ideas. And it was so sad to watch her do that. I was like, no, April, no. That's probably when Jennifer signed him, when he started blowing up because April was even talking about him at all. There's so many things that happen to April that she kind of deals with in such a weird, nonchalant way to protect herself from the shock of it all. She's freaking out, but she pretends that it's not a big deal that someone tried to assassinate her. They literally would have shot her if the hand of the Carl I'm going all over the place. Didn't save her. Okay, let's wind back to when Miranda figures out the sequence. Miranda, genius, figured out that the missing letters in the Wikipedia page were all elements on the periodic table. And the next day, April decides, like, we're gonna give these elements to the alien life form in the street. What the actual fuck are you guys thinking? Like, how can you just do this? What if this gave them the materials to do something terrible? And April thinks about it. She thinks about it. She's like, but it'd be so good for views, so I gotta do it, you know? Like, I gotta break this story. I love how the president afterward is like, yeah, could you not threaten the future of the entire population next time without at least running by me first? Could you do that? They go to the fucking Hollywood Carl and they just press the things up to his hand. And when April feels nauseous and lightheaded for a second and she just does the next thing anyway, I'm just like, April, something fucking just happened. Could you not? And she doesn't even let Miranda do it so she can see, like, if there's a difference here. She just does it again. I wonder if someone else had done this, if it would have worked, or if it had to be April, because they did choose April from the very beginning. I really like that reveal at the very end, how in the beginning, they're the ones who made that Metro card not work. I really liked at the end also how the Carl was like, you get 3 questions, because that's something that you guys like. You like to do 3 questions. When that hand fell off of Carl in Hollywood, I flipped my shits. The fact that they got that on camera, that must have gone so fucking viral. I'm just imagining them running after this thing in the streets like an alien hand running away from them. What was the point of that hand in the end? Was the hand just something to look after April? And you know, they never gave it the uranium that it wanted. What was that about? Now that I think about it, we never really addressed the uranium. Did we ever? We didn't, right? We didn't give him the uranium because we're like, that one is dangerous. But it's an alien life form. Any of these things could be dangerous. You don't know what they could do with these elements. You don't. Let's talk about this infectious dream, because that freaked me the fork out as well. And April May just casually is like, and that's how I became the first carrier of an infectious dream. So that's what happened when she touched Carl and she felt nauseous. He gave her the dream. The first time we went into this dream, I didn't want to go any further than the lobby. When she first starts exploring, I'm like, I don't want to explore. Like, this feels boring. This feels like Minecraft. But as we got into it and started to realize that these sequences are so meticulous and require languages from all over the world and skill sets from all over the world, so you literally have to work together, I really started to appreciate what was going on. I love when they form that app so that everyone can work together in the most efficient way possible to figure out all the sequences. When the airplane had like a weird accordion pattern on the side, that was so cool and so random. What a highlight it was, imagining April May standing outside an airplane alone singing Call Me Maybe. The Carls were here to observe. They were here basically to observe how humanity would react to their presence, just being there peacefully in the middle of their streets. You know, what would humanity do? Would they come together or would they tear each other apart? And this theme running through it in a lot of ways reminded me of Arrival. And I know Hank has been working on this story for so long, and I can only imagine that when Arrival came out, it was a little bit of a bummer. Like, damn, that has a very similar theme to my book, but it's a very different story. But I know when I was writing my book, whenever something came out that like vaguely had similar themes, I was like, oh no, I'm writing the same thing. But I'm not. But you have this like mild panic, and then you get past it after like 6 months. You're like, it's completely different. So why was I freaking out? Can we talk about Robin? I felt so bad for Robin throughout this whole thing. He was such a wonderful assistant, but again, he was just like there to please. I kept picturing him as Gary from V, and I know he's an attractive young dude. Like, April May keeps saying, like, Robin's really attractive, but every time I try to flirt with him, he's so weirdly professional that it's just weird that I ever tried at all. I kept trying to change my image of him, but it kept flipping back to Gary every time. He was super helpful. I also really like that we explored the power imbalance between April May, who is the celebrity, and Miranda. Even though she's around her all the time, there's still this difference in the way that Miranda treats her and acts around her. She holds April in such high esteem, it's hard for her to treat her like a normal human. Like, she doesn't call her out on shit when she's doing something wrong, like Maya would. And that's something that's all too real. We see April May kind of use Miranda when she's lonely. And then the next morning, Miranda's like, I can't believe I hooked up with April May. And April May's like, I can't believe I hooked up with Miranda. You're a genius. But things are weird afterward. And April doesn't really talk to her about it. She kind of just like lets it be weird and doesn't follow up with what that was or how Miranda's feeling. And it sucks. And she still asks Miranda to do shit for her and research for her and is working with her all the time. But now they hooked up and things are different. And it sounds like something was maybe going on with Andy and Miranda. And by hooking up with Miranda, April's created this weird love triangle because it sounds like Andy also had a thing for April May, and it's just a big mess. April May is too caught up in all the Carl stuff and all the attention to address anyone's emotional state and feelings. And April May is not an asshole, but everything's happening so fast and it's hard and she doesn't know how to deal with it. She just very quickly falls into this spiral where she can only focus on what her next move is and can't be there for anyone else in her life. I love the end. I love how we end on this kind of cliffhanger that just leaves you wanting more. While I don't think Hank is planning to write a sequel, I would like to know what happened with April in these past couple of months where she was dead. Where the F was she? Did she get to go somewhere with the Carls? Was she just being healed in a Carl machine? What happened? Does she have special powers now? Like, I'm down to read more. But it's more that we don't necessarily need. Like, we could just imagine. And I think he wanted to leave it open-ended to us. But I don't know. I mean, like, I'm down to read more if you want to write more, Hank. Where did you go? Where'd you go? I know she wrote this book after that. That's what I was like, she has to be alive. She has to be alive. And I love that text message, knock, knock. Very creepy in the best way. I'm like really glad that she's alive so that Robin will no longer have to carry the guilt of having created the domino effect that led her to go to that empty warehouse in the middle of New Jersey immediately with no one with her. When she was doing that, I was like, April. I didn't even touch on the day where she almost got assassinated and there were those terrorist attacks outside of the United States by the defenders. April was like, Andy, we need to get on this. We need to go outside and film something because everyone's out there uniting, coming together to show how humanity supports each other, and everyone is like, I don't think this is a good idea, April. Like, you almost just got killed. What are you doing? We can't protect you out there. The doorman is like, don't go out there, April. Don't go out there. She's like, I'm fine. I'm April May. And she's just walking back. She's not even walking forwards. She's walking backwards into a huge circle of people. This was another huge game changer. When she's in the middle of a circle of people and the guy comes out with a knife and he stabs her, but he turns purple. And then when Andy drops the camera on his head, falls apart and explodes into a bunch of grape jelly. What the actual fuck? And as she's being put into the ambulance, she goes to Andy, like, let me just finish it. Let me just finish the last line. Like, I have the last line ready. Yes, I was stabbed, and yes, I'm on my way to the hospital, but let's get the video done so you can post it. Watching it from afar, you're just like, this is insane. But like, I could totally see it from her point of view. This is great video. This is gonna be a great video. We have to finish it. We see how her mindset has shifted and how twisted that line of thinking can be, but we also can completely relate and understand why she's thinking these things. Social media is addictive. When you start growing a following on the internet, your brain clicks into this weird mode where it's always thinking about what it can post next. What can I do next to keep this momentum going? Your brain has to do that or else you'll lose your momentum. But the longer you're in that mode, the more you realize you're neglecting everything else in your life because you're so focused on this one thing. But again, it's like, but if I don't focus on this one thing, it won't happen. But you have to learn to balance this thing with the rest of your life. And then she withholds the footage from the president because April May has to be the one to break that footage first. I need to get that on the air. I got stabbed for this. And you want her to be the one to break it, but you're also like, the president wants it, April. You need to give it to her. And I like the little deal they strike up. Well, like, I'll give it to you, but I want to be able to post it. She's just like, just wait 24 hours and then you can do it. Then it'll be fine. It's a weird world we live in. It's a weird time we live in. This book does a really great job of highlighting that aspect of modern day society. I think those are all my thoughts on An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. It was a fabulous debut, made you feel things and think about things, and I love that. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your favorite parts. I'm Christine. I make videos every Tuesday. I'm at XTINEMAY on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!